15 minutes. That was the exact amount of time my heart stopped and my brain ceased registering any activity. 15 minutes in which, for all the machines in that room, for all the doctors looking at the monitor, I was no longer a person. I was a body, a lifeless body. But what I saw while I was dead is exactly what comfortable religion and safe science try to hide from you. I didn't have a dream. I didn't have a brain deprived of oxygen hallucination. I saw my own body lying on that table. I saw the ceiling above me. I heard the staff's despair. I heard the nurse's trembling voice. I heard words that no one ever repeated to me afterward, words I had no way of knowing. And then I was pulled to a place that human words can barely contain. Today, I'm going to tell you the truth about what happens in the second after your last breath. And I'm going to give you the urgent message I was given to bring back to you who are listening to me now, before it's too late. Stay with me until the end, because what they showed me wasn't for me. It was for you. It was an ordinary Tuesday. I remember it with a clarity that frightens me because ordinary days shouldn't become the boundary between two worlds. I had gone in for surgery that they told me was routine. Simple procedure was the word they used. You'll be home in 2 days. I signed the papers without reading them properly. You trust. You always trust that you'll come back. I remember the smell of the hospital, that antiseptic smell that gets deep in your nose and sticks in your memory. I remember the cold of the operating room, the bright white lights, the constant beeping of the monitor marking my heart, steady, regular, alive. I remember the anesthesiologist counting backward, 10, 9, 8. And that's when the first strange thing happened. Before I passed out, before the chemical sleep took me, an absurd peace descended upon me. It wasn't the peace from the medication. It was different. It was too vast to contain within me. For a moment, I felt as if something or someone had placed a hand on my chest and said, without words, "Everything is fine." I didn't know. I had no way of knowing that it was a goodbye. 7, 6, and the world shut down. What happened during the surgery, I only reconstructed afterward, piecing together the fragments the doctors reluctantly told me. There was a complication, something no one foresaw, a hemorrhage that wouldn't stop, a plummeting blood pressure, and then the sound everyone knows from the movies, but that no one ever wants to hear for real. The steady beep of my heart turned into a single continuous note, straight line. They lost me. The next thing I remember, I won't be able to explain it in a way that makes sense to your mind because it wasn't made for that, but I'll try. I was on the roof. Not as if I was. I looked down and there was a man lying on the operating table, surrounded by people in masks and gowns. It took me a few seconds to understand that that man was me. And here's the thing that shattered everything I thought I knew about life. I was more alive up there, without a body, than I had ever been inside that flesh. My thoughts were clearer. My vision was 360 degrees. I saw the whole room at once, the clock on the wall, the expression behind each mask, the numbers on the monitor. I had no eyes, but I saw everything. I had no ears, but I heard every word. I heard the head doctor say the name of a medication and the dosage number. I heard the youngest nurse holding back tears. I heard someone say in a low voice, "He's not coming back." And I wanted to scream. I wanted to say, "I'm here, I'm okay, I'm up here, look up." But they weren't listening to me. because I was no longer on their wavelength. And it was at that moment that the first great truth hit me like a wave. Your consciousness doesn't die when your brain dies. The you that thinks, that loves, that fears, that remembers, that you isn't trapped inside your head. The brain is just the machine. When the machine shuts down, you continue. I am proof. I was looking at my own brain without activity, and yet I thought, I saw, I existed. They try to convince you that you're just chemistry, just neurons firing, just flesh. I tell you, from the other side of that border, that's a lie. You are eternal. You always have been.
And as I absorbed all of that, I realized I was no longer interested in that room. The scene down there, the despair, the blood, my body began to shrink, distant, like a memory of a life that no longer belonged to me. Because something behind me started calling out. I turned around, though turned around is too weak a word for what happened, and I saw darkness. But don't be afraid of the word darkness, because it wasn't the darkness of nothingness. It was the darkness of a tunnel, and at the end of it, far away, there was a light. And I was pulled in. It wasn't like falling, nor like flying. It was like being called by name by someone who loved you before you were born. I went through that tunnel at a speed that would disintegrate any human machine, and I felt no fear. I felt that I was, finally, going home. It's as if my entire life on Earth had been just a one-way trip, and now I'm returning to where I truly came from. The light grew. And here I need you to understand, that light wasn't like sunlight. Sunlight hurts your eyes. That light, me cared. The closer I got, the lighter I felt. Every weight I'd carried in life, every guilt, every shame, every sleepless night, everything I'd done and never told anyone, it all began to dissolve like mist beneath the morning sun. And then I came out of the tunnel. I have no words. I swear I don't. The human language was made to describe a small world, and what I saw was infinite. There were colors, but not the colors you know, colors that don't exist here, colors I had never seen and that even now, years later, I can't recreate in my mind because there's nothing on earth to compare them to. It was as if the light were alive, as if each ray had consciousness and love. There were fields, vast green expanses that stretched as far as the eye could see and beyond. There was water, but the water was liquid light and it sang. Everything sang. The grass, the air, the distance. There was a music that came from nowhere and from everywhere, a harmony so perfect that I wept without having eyes to weep, because I realized that that music had always existed and that my whole life on earth I had been deaf to it. And there were beings. Shadows of light. They weren't ghosts, they weren't clouds. They were people, but people as they should be, as they were meant to be before everything went wrong. They radiated peace. Some came towards me, and I knew things about them without anyone telling me. There are no lies, there are no disguises. You know others for who they really are, and this is the most terrifying thing. They know you for who you really are. Every thought you hid, every mask you wore on earth, there, it simply doesn't exist. And it was here that I began to understand the secret, the thing they hide from you. In this world, they teach you that life is about accumulating money, status, likes. They teach you that success is a pile of things and that whoever dies with the most toys wins. They sell you the fear of death so that you buy everything they offer, and they sell you the illusion that death is the end so that you never stop and think about what comes next. But on the other hand, none of that matters. Nothing. I wasn't asked about my bank account. I wasn't asked about my car, my job title, how many followers I had.
everything that the world calls real life simply evaporated. It had no value whatsoever. It was dust. And only one thing remained. Only one thing crossed the border with me: love. The love I gave, the love I received and acknowledged, the times I chose kindness when I could have chosen pride, the times I forgave, the times I reached out to someone who couldn't repay me, that crossed with me. It was shiny. It was the only currency in that place. And at the same time, I felt a weight rising, because I also saw the other times, the times I was cold, the times I turned my face away, the words that hurt and that I never fixed. There, nothing is hidden, and you don't need anyone to judge you. The truth simply appears, naked, before you. The presence of that light is so pure that it does not accuse, it only reveals. And revelation is judgment. This is the first secret they are trying to hide from you. Your life is being recorded, and nothing that truly matters is what the world told you it mattered. And while I was there in that vastness, I realized something else that still chills me to this day. Time in that place doesn't flow like it does here. 50 minutes on the operating room clock felt like hours to me, maybe days, maybe not even that. Maybe there was no time at all, just an eternity. Now, a gift that never ends. I understood that time is an earthly thing, a chain that binds us, and that on the other side, it simply releases us. You exist in fullness, without the clock ticking against your back, without the feeling that life is slipping through your fingers. It's the first time you truly take a deep breath, and there's no more rush because there's no end. And I saw in the distance two paths, not with my eyes, with the knowledge that place gives you. I knew there was a direction that led deeper into that light, that peace, that home. And I knew there was another direction. One from where the light didn't reach, a place of distance, of cold, of endless solitude. I wasn't taken there, thank God. But I felt its existence as you feel the icy air coming from an open door in the middle of winter. And I understood, with a clarity that still keeps me awake at night, that each soul, upon crossing the border, goes to the side to which it belongs. Not by lottery, not by luck, but by what it chose in life to love, and to whom it said yes or no while it still had time. That was the moment I stopped thinking that eternity was just a nice theory for Sundays. It's the most real destiny that exists. More real than the chair you're sitting in, more real than the air filling your lungs at this very second. And then he came. I felt it before I saw it. It was as if all that vastness, all that light, all those beings turned in a single direction, like iron turning to a magnet. The music changed. The air, if there was any air, became dense with such profound reverence that I fell. I didn't choose to fall. I fell. Because standing before the one who was approaching was impossible. He was a figure of light, but I knew, with a certainty that came from before time, who he was. It was Jesus. And I need to tell you what it was like to feel his presence, because that's what changes everything. Imagine the most loving Father that could ever exist. Now multiply that by infinity. Imagine being known completely, utterly, every shameful part of yourself exposed, and at the same time being loved without any reservations. On earth, we hide our flaws for fear that if people saw who we really are, they would run away. But before him, I was completely naked, without any mask, with all my worst moments on display. And he loved me just the same. Even more. The authority that emanated from him was absolute. I understood in a single instant that everything, every star, every soul, every particle of every world belonged to him and answered to him. There was no debate. There was no maybe. His sovereignty was a fact as solid as light. But, and this is what still gets to me today, that infinite authority didn't crush, it embraced.
Power and tenderness were one and the same in him. I understood then that the most powerful thing in the entire universe is also the most loving, and that love is not weakness. Love is the force that holds everything upright.
He spoke to me, but not with his mouth, not with sound. He spoke within, from me, and each of his words was engraved on my soul like fire etching metal, forever, with no possibility of erasing it. And what he told me, I carry with me to this day. I'm going to give it to you now. He told me it wasn't my time yet. I begged to stay. You need to understand, nobody who experiences that wants to go back. Returning to Earth after seeing that is like returning to a cell after seeing the ocean. I begged. I said, "Please let me stay. I've arrived home." And he said to me, with a tenderness that broke my heart, "Not yet. There are people who need to hear. You will return, and you will tell them what you saw. You will tell them that I am real, that eternity is real, that love is the only thing that remains, and that no one needs to be afraid, but everyone needs to prepare." And then he showed me the second secret, the most urgent of all. He showed me that the boundary between the two worlds is thin, thinner than anyone imagines, that people live as if they have infinite time, postponing, saying, "I'll sort things out tomorrow, I'll think about it later, when I'm older, I'll go back to God." And he showed me that later is one of the biggest lies ever told to humanity, because nobody knows when they will cross that line. I went into routine surgery on an ordinary Tuesday. Death doesn't keep to a schedule, and he showed me that what determines which side of the border you wake up on isn't your achievements, nor your superficial religion, nor how good you were in the eyes of others. It's what's in your heart. It's who you belong to. It's whether you recognized while still alive the source of all that light, or whether you spent your entire existence pretending he didn't exist. This is the notice I was sent back to deliver. The return trip was violent. One moment I was bathed in that light, in his presence at home. The next, it was like being sucked down a drain, backwards, against my will. The music faded, the colors faded, peace vanished, and I collapsed back inside that body. The first thing that returned was the pain. A pain I can't describe, as if my whole body were made of lead and were on fire all at once. Then the weight. That terrible weight of the flesh, of gravity, of the limit. I, who seconds before could see in 360 degrees and knew the thoughts of others, was once again locked inside two small eyes in a dark room, unable to even move a finger. The monitors went off. I heard someone shout that they had a pulse. I heard the commotion, the rush, and inside all I could do was cry, not from pain, but from longing. Longing for a place where I had been for 15 minutes and which already felt more like home than any house I had ever lived in. When I finally managed to speak, days later, I repeated to the nurse the words I had heard while I was dead. The name of the medication, the dosage, the phrase someone whispered. She went white. She asked me how I knew that. I had no way of knowing.
I was clinically dead. My brain wasn't registering anything. She didn't know what to answer, but I saw it in her eyes. She knew it was true.
Life after that, it's not easy. I'm not going to lie to you and say I came back and lived happily ever after. Coming back breaks you in a way that few understand. Because now I know what exists on the other side, and each day here feels a little like prison and a little like a mission. But everything changed. I'm no longer afraid of death, not at all. For me, death has ceased to be a wall and has become a door. I know where I'm going. I've been there before. And I stopped living for things that evaporate. That money, that status, that whole race. I saw with my own eyeless eyes that none of that crosses the border. So today, I live for the only thing that does: love, people, hearts. And I live to deliver this message, because that's why I was sent back. It wasn't medical luck. It wasn't a coincidence. I was returned with a task, and I can't die again, this time for real, without having accomplished it. There are days when I look at people on the street, rushing, fighting for a parking spot, anxious about bills, glued to their phones, and I feel a pain in my chest, because I want to stop each one of them and say, you have no idea who you are. You have no idea where you're going. You're carrying the weight of things that won't cross over with you, and you're leaving behind the only thing that will. But I can't stop everyone in the street. That's why I'm here, talking to you through this screen. Maybe you're exactly one of those people, and maybe it's no coincidence that you've arrived here, at this moment, listening to these words. I've learned that life isn't a race to accumulate. It's a preparation. Each day you receive is another chance to fill your soul with what lasts, to love more, to forgive faster, to make peace, to say what needs to be said before the border arrives unannounced.
I live each morning now as a letter that is still open and that one day will be sealed and delivered.
So listen to me, whoever you are, wherever you are watching this, whatever time of night it is, listen to me, because maybe that's why you came across this video. If you believe, I have come to take away your fear. Death is not the end. It is not darkness. It is not nothingness. On the other side, there is light. There is home. There is the one who loves you more than you can imagine. Do not be afraid. Live, love, forgive. Hold the hand of the one who is by your side. And when your time comes, you will not fall into the void. You will fall into his arms. But if you don't believe, if you've spent your life hearing that all this is a fable, that we're just chemistry, that when the light goes out, nothing remains, then it's you I need to speak to more carefully, because I used to think that too. And I tell you, as someone who crossed the line and came back, eternity is real. Judgment is real.
The boundary is thinner than you think, and the after you keep promising yourself may never come. I'm not here to scare you. I'm here because I was sent here. I'm here because if I remain silent after what I've seen, I would be the worst of cowards. I saw the truth, and the truth is love, but it's a love that demands an answer while we're still alive.
Don't put off settling accounts with eternity until tomorrow. Don't postpone the forgiveness you need to ask for or give. Don't postpone making peace with God. Do it today, now, while you still have breath in your lungs and time on your side. Because one day, and none of us knows which day, this breath will stop, and you will cross over. And on the other side, I guarantee you, nothing will remain of what the world sold you. Only those you loved and to whom you belong will remain. I was dead for 15 minutes, and I came back just to tell you this. You are eternal. You have nothing to fear. But for the sake of your own soul, be prepared. I've already seen what comes next, and I'll be waiting for you on the right side of the light.